about quiet. We'll quietly talk about quiet. Quiet in the chaos. This is the time of year, I don't know if you guys get into all the frenzy of shopping and making everything exactly right and all the frenetic energy. It can be overwhelming. So this is a good time to reintroduce that concept of peace into our lives. So this is what we normally think of as peace and quiet, right? Isolated, out in the woods, maybe on the water, just doing something without a lot of people, without a lot of activity. That's what I think of, right? I like to just kind of be chill. But we don't always have that, right? We have to be in the world, but not of the world, as the scriptures say to us. So we might find ourselves in the mall. I am not a fan of the mall. I am way too energy sensitive to be in the mall, with all the lights and the sounds, and it's just a lot of stimulation. And I remember when I was young and had roommates, they would laugh. They love going to the mall. Let's go to the mall. I'm like, I don't know. And sometimes I'd make myself go, and I'd find myself just unconsciously grabbing the hand of my friend. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you holding my hand? It's like, because it's just a lot. It's a lot. And it's an important thing to know about yourself, right? An awareness. It doesn't mean you never go. It's just that I'm aware of how it affects me. And so I don't want to go from the mall straight to something else, because I need to go back and, take care of my introverted side and get back to that quiet. However, the whole point of finding that calm and that quiet and that peace within is to allow us to go into the world. It may not be our preferred environment, but we don't have to come out of it in a tailspin, right? We can prepare ourselves. We can know in advance, okay, this is an environment that may be my favorite, but I love the people that want to go do it. I want to go do certain things with certain people that maybe it's not my preferred thing. Doesn't mean I have to sit home, but if I spend my time building my reserve of peace within, then I can do anything. I can go anywhere. I can show up the way I want to show up. And none of us want to show up frantic. I have shown up that way plenty of times in my life. And it doesn't feel good, right? And then you apologize later that you weren't really present, or you said things, or you acted a certain way. But we can, because we have dominion over ourselves. Our animals don't. They just act out of instinct all day long, and that's beautiful. But we're human beings, and we're expected to have a little bit more decorum in a lot of situations. And we can learn. We can learn skills, and meditation is a big unity skill that we focus on. This is a collection of little images, right? Because it's all fun in and of itself, right? This is actually grandma baking with a little girl. That's so much fun. But if you do that, and then you have to go have a glass of wine with your school friends from junior high or something, and then you've got to go do something over here and help wrap gifts, it can just be a lot. One on top of the other. Isolated, separated apart, yeah, a nice time. But this is the time of the year where we are just expected to just plow through. And a lot of people don't enjoy the holidays because of that. Because they feel that pressure to decorate everything, to fix everything. I'm in this little tiny rental house right now because of my house being hit by the tornado. And I'm probably not going to put up a Christmas tree because there's no room for it. I do have somewhere this little tiny white one that I bought when Carly, my dog, was little, with pink ornaments on it, because she's a girly dog. But I don't know where it is right now. But I might find it if I have a chance. But there are ways that we can do that. We can participate, we can be present, and not compromise who we are. right? Not put ourselves in a situation where we're going to be out of sorts. So the Revealing Word, have any of you studied any of the material in the Revealing Word? It's a reference book, like the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. It gives us interpretations of things or explanations of things from the unity perspective, which some of you might know. Unity is founded on that common thread amongst all religions. Yes, we are based in Christianity. We're a Christian church. However, we acknowledge the thread of truth in all major religions. So the Revealing Word kind of helps us to look at things from that perspective. So in the Revealing Word, the metaphysical meaning of peace is a synonym for harmony and tranquility. That's nothing new, right? But here's the interesting part: derived from the awareness of Christ consciousness. So when you're aware of the consciousness of Christ, so that's Jesus when he became aware of his oneness with God. Now, he always knew, but there was a point where his teachings changed. You know, he was a kid and then he went missing for about 33, I don't know how many years he went, 20 years between 12 and 33 or whatever it was. So he did some studying, but then he came back as Jesus the Christ. He had the Christ consciousness. He had the awareness that he was one with everything. And that's why he taught embracing people, and he taught the truth of love. That's all he really taught. Peace is the underlying message, but he taught love, as we know. The first commandment, what he said, you know, the greatest commandment of all. But it says, again, this is that same scripture, but that was quoted in the Revealing Word. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. My understanding of the Christ consciousness, my understanding of my oneness with God. I'm not separate from God. I leave that with you, therefore you can have peace. You have that understanding that I'm not separate. I'm not separate from you or you or you or anybody, even those we disagree with. We're not separate from anything. We're not separate from nature. I mean, that's where we feel the most peace, right? That's where you know that oneness is actual truth. But it says, steadfast affirmations of peace will harmonize the whole body structure and open the way to attainment of health conditions in mind and body. When our mind is peaceful, our body can heal. You know, you hear all the time about people who prayed for, you know, they wanted to have a baby, but they just couldn't. Then they broke their leg, you know, this is like a woman breaks her leg and then she's forced to rest and she finally gets pregnant. When the body can be still, it can do what the body's naturally meant to do. We have that healing capacity within us all the time. And when we're peaceful, our mind can be clear, our heart can be open, and our body can function in the way that it's meant to be. Our body's not meant to be diseased. No matter what the pharmaceutical industry tells you, and I don't have anything against them, there's reason to have pharmaceuticals at times, but not all the time for everything, right? The body has the natural ability to heal, and one of the ways that we can help facilitate that is rest, is taking care, is calming our mind, having those steadfast affirmations of peace and wellness within. So the story, again, of Jesus is what this season is about, right? Mary and Joseph, and they're going to have a baby, and they go and they go on this journey, and it's about the birth of this consciousness that came into the world through this baby, Jesus. But you know, have you ever looked in the face of a baby? I know you did, because you have Brittany, right? She probably really exuded that, you know, they're so present. A newborn baby, even when they can't focus, they're so present and they're just taking everything in. They are in that Christ consciousness because nobody's told them no yet. Nobody's said anything, about the shape of their head. Don't talk about babies in front of them like that, It's like when I hear people say, oh, but they've got that Uncle Saul's nose and it looks terrible. It's too big for their face. It's like, you think the baby can't hear that? The baby can hear the vibrations of your heart. Express only love, because that's all they're giving you. That's just everything they're giving you. So that's like, even in Jesus' teachings, he was like, make yourselves like little children. Like, let's go back to being that open vessel, just accepting truth for what truth is. That's the point of the baby Jesus story. And then in Advent, as we light these candles each week, and the reason we're spending a week on faith and a week on peace and a week on love and a week on joy, is because these are things, when we activate these spiritual gifts within us, we bring ourselves to that Christ consciousness. And then on Christmas Eve, that's when we light the final white candle, which represents the Christ consciousness. Because we all have within us the ability to see the world from that level of consciousness that Jesus exemplified as our master teacher. We all have the ability to move and live and have our being from the presence of love. We don't always make the choices that reflect that, truthfully, myself included, mostly towards ourselves, right? When you look in the mirror and you say terrible things, or you have thoughts about yourself, condemn yourself, resent yourself, have shame about yourself. And if you are doing that to yourself, you cannot really fully be present with others. So that's the first place to start that little journey. But it begins within us. It begins when we take that journey within, which is what Advent is all about. And this is just an image of Jesus teaching, because his whole point with the disciples was not to have followers, but for them to embrace the Christ consciousness for themselves, and then to take it out into the world the way that they could through their human form. Each of the disciples, in the 12 powers, each disciple represents a different power, because as a human being, each disciple has a different ability to share the gifts and the consciousness of Christ. It reflects differently through each of those lenses, like a crystal, all the different ways that the light is refracted. That's how God is expressed through each one of us in a different and unique way, that not all the disciples were meant to go out and teach the same thing. Even when Thomas doubted what he was saying, he didn't say, shame on you, Thomas, for being a doubter. It's like, doubting is okay. That helps you build your faith. So back to the 5 principles. God is, I am. That is the Christ consciousness. When you can really embrace that God is everything and in every moment of your life, and you are an expression of that same thing that's living and moving and having its being, you are moving into that Christ consciousness. That's a big leap for a lot of people. And it's taken me, 20-something years in Unity to kind of like go, oh yeah, I see, I really feel that. I have a knowing. Sometimes people have an epiphany. But the 5th principle is put it into practice. Because you can have a moment, an epiphany, you can have a little awareness, but if you're not then taking and integrating that into your life, you're not really learning it. You're not practicing it. So in John 14:10, this is a little bit further up. Again, Jesus is just really trying to drive this home. This is, again, the 1st and 2nd principles of the Christ consciousness. He said, don't you believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me who does his work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. God is, I am. God is, I am. You are. We're all an expression of that, which in many belief systems puts a separation. You know, the old man on the cloud idea, or the one with the big staff who's going to strike you down. Or one of my friends said to me one time, God's had this heel on my neck for 2 years. I'm like, no, God doesn't do that. That's you. That's in your head. You created that. There's no God with a boot heel to put on your neck. It's what you believe. It's your choices. It's how you live and move and have your being. But he says, or at least believe in the evidence of the works themselves. We've all had those times where we've seen prayer answered. It's not a fluke. It's a cause and effect. You pray, there's an outcome. You pray, it's filtered through your belief, and there's an outcome. So if you pray and it's not the outcome you were looking for, step back and look at that filter. What do you truly believe? Because prayer is answered 100% of the time, and the answer is always yes. So the words that you speak are all prayers. So it's important to pay attention to what it is you're praying for. In Buddhism, the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. It doesn't mean that you can't have money or possessions. That's not what it's saying. That can't be where you're looking to have peace. Your stuff in the outer world will not bring you peace. Peace comes from within. It's not separate from those things. It's nice to have them, but it's the attachment to those things that will constrict you and keep you from peace. So it's wonderful to have lovely things, but go within to find peace, and everything will be lovely in your life, regardless of the size of your pile. That's what I always say with my investment broker. I'm working on my pile of stuff over here. I got to put my pile together. Shalom is, in the Jewish tradition, the Hebrew word for peace. It's a greeting. Peace and health. So it's a hello and a goodbye. So you're constantly, in the Hebrew tradition, wishing people good health and peace. I was in Costa Rica years and years ago, and they say pura vida for coming and going, which means pure life. Pure life. I just love that. You're just wishing people pure life. Pure life. Don't we all want to just have pure life, however that expresses for us? But that's exactly what's in us. That God substance expressing as us is pure life, expressing through us all the time. So back to the 5 basic principles. That fourth one, I pray and meditate. Prayer and meditation increases our awareness of God. There's some neuroscience terms, I think it's called tagging, but once you become aware of something, then you see more of it.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone looking for a car and you see one, then you see a color and you're like, oh, I haven't seen this color on the road, it's so unique and I love this car, and then you drive out of the parking lot and you see 40 of them. And then you're like, what? I didn't see those. Where'd they come from all of a sudden? But it's really a matter of where your attention is, right? You weren't looking for that color, so you weren't seeing it. We've all seen that little video on YouTube about the guys playing basketball, and there's a bear that goes in the background, but if they tell you to keep your eye on the ball, you don't see the bear, and then when you watch it again, you see the bear walk by. I mean, it's all about where are we putting our attention. Are we putting our attention on peace, on love, on joy? Are we putting our attention on the good that is in the world? Because it is everywhere. We just have to look for it. But through prayer and meditation, we settle ourselves and we put that attention, we focus, we dial in, we put our energy focused in the direction that we want. Because if we worry, you're still praying. You're just praying for what you don't want. It doesn't make much sense, does it? But we do. I mean, but you know, have you ever been where I was at a luncheon one day, and one person, we all traveled to be there, and one person says, oh, the airline, la la la. And the other person goes, oh, I know, I had this experience. And then everybody has to jump in on their terrible airline experiences. And I just said, I'm not joining that. I'm not getting in on that, because I had a great flight here, and I want to have a great flight home. But I promise you, all those people had a terrible flight home, because that's what they affirmed. That's what they put out there. It's so terrible, and it's going to be a terrible experience. So what else can they have? That's what we do unconsciously. That's why we need to become conscious, and Christ consciousness is the way to live our life. So we don't have to go sit alone to have peace. So all those introverted people in the room, myself included, we don't have to shut the door and close the blinds and pretend it's not the holidays. We can participate with everyone else. We just do our prayer and meditation time. We just read something that sets our mind in the right direction first thing in the morning, so that we know we're going to claim we're going to have a good day. We're going to make the best of the opportunities we have. Prayer and meditation equal peace. That's where you get yourself into that space. And then once you've been there, you can be anywhere and you can put yourself back. You just take a deep breath and return. The breath is so powerful to bring us back, that sensory experience. And once we've been there, we can come back to peace anytime we want to, because we have dominion. So this week, giving you a weekly practice, try to be peace. Choose to be peace. Devote some time to being quiet and getting centered. Do your meditation and prayer, whatever that looks like. Meditation doesn't have to be ohms and, sitting cross-legged on a cushion. It can just be a deep breath and dropping into that center. And allowing yourself just to release everything that's bringing you away from that moment. And then be in the world. Be with your family. Be with your friends. Go to the mall if you have to. Then create peace for yourself and for those around you. So thanks for being here. This is our time to wrap up. And I didn't know if you were telling me to wrap up when you were doing the fishing.